Hi, this is Bee from Sorcery Soap. As you probably know if you're watching this channel, and if you're new to the channel, I wrote a few books on the process of soap dough, brought it to the foreground back in 2016. Couldn't find any information about it, and now there's information about it. So there you go. Yep, that was me. I haven't made videos in a while, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's not just creative blocks. Okay, whew. It's how to get started. Where do you even begin? Now, I talked about this in some of my soap dough books because I feel like this is the most important topic to creativity, is how to encourage inspiration in yourself. And it's not just encouraging inspiration, but how do you identify it and all those things? And then what happens if you've been creating, daily for 8 years? And how did I get through that? How do I get through it? So the other day, yesterday, I sat in my man's office and realized I just felt really flat. Not particularly neutral, but without any sort of forward motion. And I dug into it and identified it to the best of my ability. And some of those things are that there could be just quiet time. It's just nice, it's just time for quiet. But I felt the desire to create, and I said, it makes me satisfied to create, so why am I feeling this necessarily? Well, part of that for me is that I think there's enough negativity in the world, and I don't need to contribute to that voice. So then I ask, what's the voice I want to contribute to? And that would be more on lines of encouragement, support, inspiration. And so if I can't drum it up in myself, how am I going to do that for other people? And how do I? And I've been doing this a long time of striving to encourage myself, regardless if anybody sees my work. So that brings up a whole lot more questions, and I'm okay with having a lot of questions versus having answers. But we're living in, if nothing else, tumultuous times. And so why would I want to continue to create if the world is so uncertain right now? And, well, number one, because it brings me joy. And joy shared, one of the great lessons I've learned in this life, can grow. And the voices of negativity just continue to feed on that horrible energy. And the voice of joy, the voice of creativity, and creativity is such a weird word too. Being inspired, and when you see something, you get tickled with it, and you're like, oh, and all that wonder shows up again. And not just wonder for wonder if I could do this, but wonder in life. And then you could use that to spread towards other things. And, just take a simple walk and be curious and interested and realize that so much in nature is wonderful. And if I can't share that, if I can't drum it up in myself to share that, then what am I doing? Why would I share anything of my struggle except in hindsight? And there's lots of arguments for both sides of it. I hear it all in my head, and I've had the arguments. But it all boils down to this. What kind of person do I want to be in this world? How do I want to contribute to the planet? How do I want to contribute? What do I want to see more of in this world? And what I want to see more of, more than anything, is truth. I want to see more inventiveness, ingenuity, creativity, honor, integrity, all those words that could get me banned. Oh gosh, it's such a weird thing. Anyway, okay, so now we've done that, and I've talked for a couple minutes. So a thing I wanted to share with you is about soap dough, more specifically, so you get lots of bang for your buck on this little video. Soap dough and the quality of soap dough. So I have tons of soap dough in my house, obviously, because that's what I do. So I'm going to show you this from this angle. See that soap dough right there? I'm going to tell you a little bit about not only the color, but the texture. And there it is, this wonderful sheen of soap dough. It took a long time to achieve that. It took a lot of practice to get that quality like that, where it's not sticky. You can make it and roll it out and do all types of things to it. That is magical right there, that amazing quality right there. Okay, so as some of you know, I've written a couple books. I share some recipes, both vegetable-based and animal-based. I prefer the animal-based. I have actual blog post about my favorite recipes and why. So this right here. So what I noticed this last go with this soap dough, this is the soap dough I just offered on Friday, by the way, this past Friday. And so the saponification process of color and mica, that's what I'm going to point out today, is, so you might get it and it might look like it's got a little bit of brown on it. I don't have a piece right here with me, but it might look like a little brown because the greens, particularly greens, and oranges morph. And that word gets tossed around a lot. And what I mean by morphing is that and see, this keeps going and keeps going, and as long as I don't let it dry out and I keep mixing it like this, it'll stay nice and pliable. What I mean by morphing is this. It looks a little discolored, a little brown. I'll see if I can come up with an example for you and put it in here. And then once it gets mixed up and exposed to a little bit of air, but mixed up mostly, it turns into the color that it is. And that morphing process takes a really long time if you don't mix it up like soap dough. If you put it in like regular soap cold process, you could watch it change over the curing processes as it gets exposed to air and then settles into the color that you want it to be or that it is supposed to be. So, yeah, so that's helpful. I mean, I didn't realize that until I was making soap dough and sharing it. Greens are very, very tricky as far as getting that color. So okay, so you can see these are the offcut pieces that I get every time we make soap dough. And let's see, this is from the 17th last month. So it seems like it's hard, right? Like that's what, people report back to me. And I was like, my soap dough is hard. Okay, so here's what this looks like. And this is me. It was sitting on the counter too, so give that a little bit of a break. Anyway, so here it looks hard, but once you break it apart and start working it, it turns soft and it's pliable, okay? So this is on par with, I don't know if you've ever used Sculpey or any kind of polymer clay. When you get it at the store, and it's not even in a sealed bag, actually. It's in not an airtight bag for sure. And then I've gotten relatively new Sculpey, and it's pretty soft. But they call it conditioning. You're supposed to condition your clay, and there's a whole process for that apparently. But then if it's really old, much older, it's very crumbly. So I've just been sitting here doing this to this. So this is what it looks like that. It's hard to explain, but like that. And then this is what it looks like once you start moving it around a bit. So it's quite difficult to get cold processed soap not to do this. So one of the ways that we do it, we offer bricks of soap dough, and that's for people that want to make larger quantities and have big, huge extruders and things like that. And we vacuum seal those, so that's helpful to know. Yeah, maybe you didn't know that. And the smaller versions of this, when you break out the bar, here I'll show you, see like this. So imagine this is a bigger bar. I don't have any bars. That's where I'm at. I don't have any bars of soap dough. And you break that out like that, it looks like that. But once you start working it, then it becomes more pliable like that, because there's water sealed in it until you open it up. and move it around, move all that around, and break all that structure up. And then another thing that you want to do, let me make this, because I'm making soap cookies today, so I have to get some pliable soap dough. So, okay, so I just grabbed a bunch of these pieces, but what I want you to see is within these pieces, there's smaller pieces of harder soap dough. You want to mash that apart, otherwise when you roll it out, it won't. See, this is a rolled piece of soap dough, how smooth it is. You want it, I want it smooth anyway. So, that's my little spiel about soap dough. And I wanted to let you know that if I don't have anything supportive or uplifting, or, you know, my posts are, that's pretty easy to do. Posts, it's like, okay, my day feels like garbage, but I can still at least support somebody. It takes a little bit more effort to make the videos, and I'm not fake. So if I'm struggling with things, I'm not going to get on here and pretend that I'm not, but I also don't think that that's appropriate to do. So I work through it, and then it's sort of like you don't want me coming over to your house and having a conversation. I know this is the most obvious, having a conversation and griping about my every little problem I have. That doesn't feel very nice. I know I've had it done to me. It doesn't feel very nice. It's not my job to figure it out for you. It's not your job to figure it out for me. So I'm figuring it out, and this is me on the upswing, doing the best I can and still doing all the work that I need to do, and wondering what you think and how you pull yourself out of a slump of creativity. Like, where do you find it? Like, exactly, like, break it down to the littlest detail to explain to me in the comments, because I want to hear how you get yourself inspired, or like, what are the things. So some of the things I've talked about in my books is changing your mindset so that you can see the world just a bit differently. And one of those things I explain in there is and by the way, there is not one part of these books that I have not been ridiculed by. Some troll, some devious person who decides that they just are unhappy with me will come at me about so much, doesn't matter. But the reason I'm saying that is because I just keep going. I'm consistent and I just keep going. Doesn't matter. They can just do whatever. Because you know what? Creativity, the creative process creates. That's what it does. It creates. And I don't really know if the darkness can create, but it certainly can stir the pot. And that's easy. That's like the laziest version, is to go in and stir the pot. That's very different than asking an actual question. So with that said, one of the things I talked about in my books is changing your mindset, and something so simple as to wear your socks inside out. And you think, well, how does that? You know, I've been on all sides of this. I've hacked it out with myself and with other people. Because you change your patterns and you change your rhythms and you change how you see the world. And if it really bothers you to wear your socks inside out, I oftentimes do anyway, but if it really bothers you, then it's going to make you think about the world just a bit different. Maybe it'll bother you to the point of irritation. You go, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But then everything's disturbed a bit. And then you're like, oh, okay, so if the socks bother me, how else can I change my mind about if I can't wear my socks inside out, or if I can't see the world differently, just a little bit, not even a big thing. For example, snowed last night, beautiful. It looks beautiful outside my window right now. It's all glittery and beautiful. Some days you just can't see the glitter and the beauty. And here's the other thing about snow, is that there are hues of blue that you can't get hardly anywhere else in nature. So maybe the sky, but the blue is so just taking all that and going, okay, how could I just focus on the blue for today? How could I focus on the shadows for today? And what parts are actually white, or are they a reflection of yellow? That takes me down a whole new rabbit hole that I hadn't actually thought about. I, sort of thought about it. But that's the point for me in suggesting you wear your socks inside out. It seems silly and trivial, right? except that you were in a slump before that. Now, did it help me or did it not? Did I find a new tool to get out of that? It's just changing it a bit, just a bit. And sometimes that's the slightest difference can help. And so yesterday when I was sitting in my guy's office asking him, or telling him actually, I was sort of telling him I felt flat. And I said, I don't feel very inspired to do anything. I've just felt so flat for so long, and I couldn't count how long, but on and off for a long time. And I'm like, why? You know, is it an outside thing? And just like where inspiration comes is inside generated, then maybe it's inside me that I just feel flat. Is it okay? Asking all these questions. What can I do to change things? Should I change things, or should I just, stay with this energy for a while and see what's in there? Well, what I chose to do is get up and I changed my mind a bit. So that, super helpful. And then I decided, well, what really supports me? And I put a post up in the group, the Sorcery Creations Facebook group today. I put a post up in there about this very topic, which is what can I do? What are the smallest moments, the small things that I can do to move forward in shifting my energy? And why would I do those things? And so one of the things that I sort of brought to the surface again, which I've thought this thought many, many times, but hopefully this time I have a little bit more insight, which is feelings are transitory. We know that. They're kind of indications of what's going on around us, kind of. Depending on if we've cleaned our house and we know what we're about. But the other thing about feelings is that they don't stop me from working. Now, they will encourage me one way or another of how enthusiastic I am about the work. But we all have to do things we don't really enjoy, that we're not really tickled to death to do. I have to go shovel the driveway today probably at some point. Some days that's happy news and some days that's not so happy news. We'll see how I feel later on. Either way, it's going to get done. I mean, just like you all, we have to do our laundry and do our dishes and clean our houses and do all those things. And those aren't always really fun things to do. And we do them regularly or not, but we do them, and some days we're inspired to do them and other days we're not. If I waited till I was inspired to do every single thing in my life, I would rarely ever get anything done. So feelings, to separate them from creativity and being inspired, is tricky, and I don't always feel like doing things. So how is that? That sort of opens the floor up for trying to understand creativity, feelings, inspiration, all that stuff. And then what do you do with that? There's been plenty of times I've been inspired right before I fall asleep, and I feel like, oh yeah, I should go do that, and I don't. And then so how do I hold on to that flicker, that sort of small, subtle idea, and carry it to the next day? And then I have to do the work of it. I actually have to just do the work of it to manifest that inspiration. And how subtle is the inspiration that happens to you that will get you to move your feet? Because lots of us are inspired by lots of things, and then we don't carry it out. So what's the difference between when we're inspired and then when to do something based on inspiration, and to do things like I'm inspired to go for a walk in the middle of the day oftentimes, and then I wait, well, maybe it's not the appropriate time, and I try to hold on to that ember of inspiration. Maybe that's more it. It's like hold on to that spark of inspiration. And I think that spark can be applied to a lot of things. And so far, successfully, I've been doing that pretty much every day for the last 8 years, holding on to the spark and applying it to a lot of different things. But what if I don't want to put that spark on one particular thing anymore? How do I hold on to it and keep it going for something else? And where does the spark reside? And how do I conjure it? Does it come out of the ethers? Does it come out of nowhere? Do I make it happen? Does it come out of my insides? Is it connected to my soul? Ooh, there's a tricky topic, the soul. So I'm not going to get into that today, but I think all that is really connected. And this is just a stream of consciousness to cover a lot of ground, to tell you where I've been, what I've been up to, and why I haven't been posting anything. And if nothing else, I'm not disingenuous, and I do my best to, when I do speak, to speak truth. That I do my best to do that. And there's been so much in the world that I want to comment on that I can't, so I just stick to soap. And today was the first day of inspiration, of true and genuine inspiration to do a video. So that's what I decided to do to make this video. And I know it's a lot, but some people tell me they like to hear me talk. So I thought maybe I could just, stream of consciousness a bit and let people hear where I'm at, and let you guys hear where I'm at. And I really enjoy our community, and I enjoy our soap group so much, and I want to keep it, at an honorable level. You're not my therapist, and you're not meant there for me to discuss this. It's me to figure it out and then ask you some questions, because I want to hear your input. Anyway, so off to making soap cookies. This is my soap cookie base. So I cut these out with a cookie cutter, and then I glue with water. I glue some white soap dough on top, and then I'll paint on top of those. So there we have some soap cookies. This has gone on way too long, and I'm sure I'll edit a lot of it out, but thank you for watching, and thanks for staying true and contributing and being out there for me to talk to. Okay, hope you have a great day. Thanks, bye.